Morning, Leo. How are you doing? I hope you're having a good day, good morning, good evening, whatever time you're watching this. You could have Leo anywhere in your chart. You could consider yourself to be like an intuitive person, somebody that's psychic, somebody that gets premonitions, that understands things, that's trying to understand yourself better, but also understand the people in your life better. You understand things. You understand the way things work. You're intuitive. You might even call yourself a psychic. Okay, let's do this reading. So we're going to start with these 12 archetype cards, and then we'll pull a tarot card at the end. My name is Nikki FM. If you don't know, that is my name. Let's take a look and see. All right, so we're just going to pull all the cards out. Very interesting. Leo. 5 and 6, 7, 8, that's a good one, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Bottom of the deck, we have the storyteller. You could have some really cool stories that you like to share with people, or there's just like you've done some really cool things in your life that you definitely feel like people get an enjoyment when you share stories or things about yourself. It's like you've done some really cool things that you've been able to not only gather knowledge about, but they're just like interesting. You have a way of speaking, a way of telling stories, a way of expressing yourself that is so in charge and like unique. It's interesting, right? You have this ability to like to conquer, right? It's like you're never like a victim. Like, yeah, there might be things that people have done that have been messed up to you, but like at the end of the day, you always persevere, and you always you really always like find a way to come out on top, to always make yourself better than the circumstances that have befallen you, or the circumstances that have, right, circumstances, they just happen, right? Things happen, life gets hard, but you find a way to always battle through them, to persevere and to stand again, right? It's like if you get knocked down, you will always stand again. There's a sense of of never giving up, or like never giving in, right? Never allowing yourself to fall for too long. If you do fall for a moment, it's usually a pretty spiritual experience. I feel as though if you do fall, and I feel like when you do fall, you get this ability to be liberated, to be given reassurance from the people that you have fallen for, or the people that have made you fall. There's always somebody in your life that will show up or manifest for you, that will give you reassurance, or they will give you this sort of peace of mind, that if there's anything in your life right now that maybe is making you feel like a lack of healing, or like there's something that's missing, or if like there's something that's wrong with you, or if you got hurt in some way, or if you know, whether it's emotionally, life happens. If there was somebody that bruised your ego or made you feel like you weren't good enough, you're learning to fight for yourself and no longer just like martyr yourself. You're not just allowing yourself to succumb to self-pity. You're learning to heal the things that you can heal on yourself. And then if there's something in your life that you're having a difficult time healing yourself, God will always put somebody in your path that can heal you, or that can show you how to heal yourself. Maybe it's just by giving you a different perspective in something. Like I said, when you fall, because in your 7th house, we do have the priest energy. So if you do fall, if there is something where you're not feeling strong enough to stand on your own or in your own oneness as the Leo, if you're having a difficult time doing that, you usually fall into a pretty spiritual, like enlightened kind of energy where somebody might help you facilitate. It says facilitates spiritual communication, or wait, commitments. Facilitates spiritual commitments. Serves as a channel of spiritual energy. So when you fall, that could even be you. You could be the person that's facilitating this spiritual channel or this spiritual communication. You could have a channel, or you could be a channel for spiritual energy. You could be somebody that likes to help people, or that maybe you need help yourself, or maybe there was at one point in time where you needed help, and now that you don't need help, like you're able to use the knowledge that you learned from being in that position at one point in your life to then turn around and help other people. Anyways, let's break these houses down. So for your 12th house, in regards to like your feet or where you're walking, we do have self-destructive behavior or the desire to undermine others. So there could be something about people always trying to be in competition with you, always trying to be in battle with you. It's like, where it's like, and even here it's interesting because it's the feet, right? And you can see in this card that she is like going in an air balloon. She's like, right? It's like, you want to try and undermine me. You want to try and always seem better than me. It's like, you know what? You can't step on me if I'm in an air balloon floating away. Hot air balloon at that. What's in her hand? I can't really tell. What is it? It's not a key. Maybe it's like a lever or something, like to like release the hot air into the balloon. Interesting, which is making me go over here to the third house because it's in her hand, and the hands rule the third house. And in your third house, right? This is a 12th house. 1 plus 2 equals 3. You could be like figuratively, not necessarily literally. Maybe you're learning to do a handstand, or maybe you're learning how to like walk on your hands, but there's something that you're doing. Maybe even like rubbing your feet, or doing something where you're able to put your hands on your feet, your own hands on your feet, to like carry the energy over into that other section of your body, right? Because if the 12th house is your feet and the third house is your hands, we have the Saboteur, where maybe walking away, or maybe choosing to float away as opposed to facing something, right? Maybe you need to take that warrior energy and move it over to the feet energy, where you're able to ground yourself in this ability to be strong and to have discipline and have the skills and have like a tough will, have a strong will within yourself. And remain stoic, and the ability to self-sacrifice if it means conquering the unhealthy part of your ego, the part of your ego that might be holding you back in energies of, what does this say over here? It says waiting for a night to provide for you seduction by romantic illusion. And then we have betrayal by misusing confidences, loss of personal identity. Where it's like, there's something about it where it's like you're so unhappy with the person you are, you feel like there's something that you need, that you feel like a void inside of yourself. And instead of going into that void, you try to find somebody to fill the void that is in you. And it makes you lose your entire sense of self. And then you have to reground yourself back into reality. And a lot of times that causes a lot of shifts, a lot of changes to the personality, where it's like you are no longer grounded in reality at all, right? It's like your feet are going in an air balloon. You're no longer grounded in reality because you're not yourself. Everything that at one point in time made sense to you now makes no sense to you at all. And you feel scrambled and confused. because you're trying to fill a void that if the void is there, obviously the void is meant to be there. There's an addiction to self-pity when you should be learning the transcendent nature of service to oneself or a cause, right? You don't have to martyr yourself. You don't have to destroy yourself for someone else. No one is ever asking you to do that. Nobody would. And if somebody did ask you to do that, I would be really, I would be raising some question marks in their validity in giving you advice. Don't ever martyr yourself unless you feel like you need to do that. But I don't feel like anyone would ever ask you to do that. I don't even think Jesus Christ himself would ask you to do that. Just because he chose to do that, I believe that when he did that, I believe he did that because he felt as though it would stop future violence when it had a reverse effect. And he led as an example in a way that he didn't intend to, where people would follow in his footsteps and do the same thing as him, martyr themselves. When I don't believe that he would have ever wanted anyone to do that, I believe he did that so that no one else would have to do that. But people saw the spirit in the man that made that sacrifice of himself, and wanted to embody that same sort of selflessness, because it's admirable, right? People, like, when you do that, it might seem like counterintuitive. Like, we all want to think about ourselves and be like, okay, yes, like, this is important for me to think about me and take care of me. But sometimes by doing the opposite thing, it has the effect that you would have wanted, pushing towards or trying to pull the thing towards you. Sometimes if you give slightly repelling energy, or if you kind of push something away, and it comes back to you, right? It's like, if you love something, let it go kind of energy. But we're talking about you, which you should love yourself. So if you love yourself, let yourself go, and then expect yourself to come back to you. We do have a shadow healer here in your 6th house, which is a little scary. It says, taking advantage of those who need help, failing to care for oneself. And that's in the 6th house of health. So make sure you're taking care of yourself, right? Like I said, you're letting yourself go, expecting yourself to come back to you. When if you were to just take care of yourself in the first place, things like that would never happen. I'm sorry, that was in your 5th house of dating, romance, games, fun, things like that. You could have like a toxic dating style that changes. It's not for health. We have the healer, the shadow healer, taking advantage of those who need help, failing to care for oneself. That could even really tie very strongly into having sex, the sex you take place in, that you do. If you do have sex, I'm not sure. We have the dilettante, shadow dilettante, and it says pretension to much deeper knowledge than you actually possess. So you could be putting on an act like you know something more than you do know. You could be making it seem like you're smarter than you are, or it's like you're kind of stretching something a little thin. It's like you're going a little bit too far out there, right? It's like, if you're trying to pull something off, maybe you're not feeling super well that day, or because of something that happened during the weekend. Maybe you went to a club and there was somebody, like, you need to make sure that you're being upstanding, right? Health is wealth as well. Health is wealth. So the 6th house is wealth. It's the natural house of Virgo. Now with this healer card coming out for your natural house, because we know that Leo naturally rules the 5th house of the zodiac. It's almost like you're like trying to like let yourself go, or it's like there's something about like not standing in your own energy. Like you martyred that energy off for some reason. I don't know why you did that. Probably due to bad relationships, people that saw power in you and wanted to take that power away from you. People do that. Not cool. That's why you need to be careful about who you allow to fill your void. Okay, let's go over here to your seventh house. Your seventh house can be ruled by Aquarius. We have the priest, and that's the facilitating of the spiritual energy or the spiritual channel. It's like this damsel energy, waiting for a knight to provide seduction by romantic illusion is what was coming out for your first house. Your seventh house, you get a priest. So there could be something about like when you're wanting this romantic illusion or when you're needing this like sexual or romantic release, it's like you're no longer being met with that knight that you need, but you're being met with people that will connect you to your own spiritual source instead of needing to connect to a spiritual source through another person. It's like you're now meeting somebody that's going to take your plug and they're going to plug you directly into source. So you don't need to let yourself go anymore, right? So that you can be your truest self connected to the source of all things. God, if you will. Your eighth house of sex, romance, hidden things. We have the Liberator. Light attribute is freeing yourself and others from outmoded beliefs, and releasing negative thought patterns. So I feel like that's something that you're trying to do. You could still kind of be caught into this. We have this the shadow companion, and that's betrayal by misusing confidences and loss of personal identity. So maybe you're being asked to kind of unify yourself with everyone. Just if you do see yourself as separate or like special or like just unify yourself. You need to learn to put yourself in other people's shoes before God puts you in other people's shoes. You're already in the saboteur shoes, right? Your feet are already sabotaged. Wherever you're going is sabotaged. It's just the way it's going, Leo. It's just the way that the cards came out. And then there'll be a lesson in that will teach you something. And you'll grow from it and you'll learn for the next time. It's just the way it works. Right? Life would be boring if it was always easy. Things have to be hard so we grow and we continue to be the people we need to be. The next card we have out for you is going to be in your ninth house, clarifying the warrior, the light warrior of strength, skill, discipline, toughness, will, heroism, stoicism, and self-sacrifice in conquering the ego. And then this is going to be the ninth house of gurus, spiritual people, higher education, college, university, in-laws. We have the angel. The light attribute is helping those in need with no expectation in return. Just being like, but you need to really be cautious because we have that first house with the damsel, the healer, the angel. That is showing me a pattern right there because that's all your fire houses, right? If you're Leo rising, that would be Leo as the damsel, Sagittarius as the healer, and Aries as the angel. That just kind of seems like that could really easily get into a toxic cycle. I like that I don't see the knight here because the knight and the damsel can definitely have that like Caroline Myss, the author of this deck, actually talks a lot about that, the damsel and the knight. And there's a couple other archetypes that if they came out, that would be scary. But it's like when you allow someone to help you, there can be a lot of different circumstances. But the one that she mentions is, she uses this analogy, the lifeguard at the pool, that someone is drowning and they're able to save that person and everyone claps and cheers and they think, oh my gosh, this person's such a hero, and it makes them feel really good and this boosted sense of accomplishment, right? It feels good to help people. It feels good to save people. It feels good to be recognized as well for your ability to heal people. Even if it's to the detriment of the self, right? It can feel good. It can make us feel recognized, and that's not a bad feeling. But she talks about when the applause is gone and nobody is cheering anymore and everybody's just back to doing their thing. Nobody's drowning. It's a quiet day at the pool and nobody's really recognizing you for what you had done anymore. And There's this desire to be recognized again for what you've done. And that night, that we don't have that archetype out here, but I'm just talking about, instead we have the angel, which is helping those with no expectation of return, which is really positive that I'm seeing that. With the healer, the only thing is you need to make sure that you're still taking care of yourself. So I think the fact in knowing that there is no expectation in return, right? Like this person isn't expecting anything. They weren't doing it for clout, but that's just something that you need to be kind of aware of, is the fact that the person that saved you can then like make you drown again or cause something to happen where you could drown again, just so that they could be seen as the person that would heal you. Not saying that's happening. I mean, it could. It might have happened to you in the past. I feel like you're coming into contact with people that aren't like that anymore. Or maybe even you... It could even be like nobody was there to save you, and so you got kind of like there could be so many different circumstances with the damsel. The damsel goes so deep in and of itself, just that archetype. I could talk about it for a long time. Just all the different combinations that could happen with that archetype. But we have the hermit clarifying the martyr. I feel like this damsel is really learning a different way of finding security and reassurance within herself or himself. Doesn't matter, either way. And I think that's taking like a spiritual approach and really finding the power to save yourself within your own self. And that's like Jesus when he would teach a man to fish instead of giving a man a fish so that he can learn to do it for himself. And that is important. I think that's something that you should be focusing on trying to do. But actually gain the knowledge, because we also have the 6th house of acting like you know more than you actually do. So don't be afraid to show like humility. If you don't know something, you can always ask someone. You can always look something up. Let's look at this hermit card though. And it says, seek solitude to focus intently on inner life. And it serves personal creativity. And you can see this person is just sitting in a house. And this is really interesting that that's coming out, because this is for your MC. You could work from home. Or you have a desire to work from home. Or you thought you had a desire to work from home until you realized that you miss the ability to go and that place to go, right? It's like people kind of, especially when it's something that's free and it's not like you're not going to work and it's like working at a food service job or something like that, but like actually having a place where you can go out and have a place of creativity outside of the stress of the home can be really nice, right? Sometimes you can feel bigger than your surroundings. This card reminds me of Sagittarius a lot, because Sagittarius is so expansive. It's like you could put Sagittarius in a football field and they would find a way for the football field to not be big enough. Like they would somehow find a way to not have enough space. That's just the way Sagittarius is. They're just too big for their surroundings all the time. They're larger than life. Not in like a fat way, but just like they're just like they can find, like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? We've all felt like that before. It's like being in an airplane bathroom, trying to change your clothes or something, right? You're trying to get in your bag and you're what is happening? That's what that's giving me a little bit. Your 11th house, we have the Fool, and this is fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at absurdity and hypocrisy. Now, this is clarifying that shadow healer. I don't know if you're like, this could be somebody that like, I'm thinking of like a comedian for some reason. It's like somebody that like puts themselves down or like hates on themselves, will say things about themselves, like make fun of themselves. It's like, I'm going to make fun of myself with the martyr and everything. I'm going to make fun of myself before you can make fun of me. That's what that's giving me. But it's like nobody was ever even like thinking that way about you until you started saying it yourself. And it's good to be able to laugh at yourself, but like you can see it's a mask. Like this person is actually really sad and not very happy about the way that they feel about themselves. Instead of changing, it's like they laugh about it, but really at the end of the day, it's just like sabotage, right? It's you self-sabotaging the self, like putting this facade on, trying to act this way when maybe that's not the way you want to feel at all. But for some reason, like there's this inner voice that's telling you it's being judgmental of yourself to you. So I'm not sure. Take with that what you will, Leo. I'm not sure if that would resonate or not. It was kind of interesting reading. We're just going to pull one tarot card just because the tarot, it gets so confusing. I feel like I realized that it's just like, I don't even know, like, we didn't really go into like the meanings of the houses so much in this one because I feel like it kind of told the story in a different way. I did just post a Cancer reading, the last upload I did, that was talking about like the actual house system. If you're interested in learning that, I would really recommend watching that video. We have the Five of Coins and we have the Five of Wands, conflict and guilt. The Five of Coins can, you see, look at that's the card. And there's a rat, and there's, somebody has the Mercury coin in the hand. This warrior, so you could be feeling a little combative about your words, right? There's also a five, being left out in the cold, or just kind of feeling like, oh, guilt. Interesting. Maybe there's guilt around needing to leave people out, or maybe you're feeling guilty that you were left out, or the guilt. There's some sort of like wanting to go back on something. I'm not sure. You're going to take with that what you will. We have the Five of Swords in reverse here. Cut them off if you need to, right? It's like, that was 3 fives, right? Fives are the hardest cards. I don't know. You could be going through something kind of tough right now, Leo. Anyways, you do have Mars in your sign, opposing Pluto in Aquarius. So give yourself time, give yourself space, give yourself the energy to grow and flow and learn to be okay. Learn to make it okay. Learn to heal, right? I gotta go. This has been too long. I gotta talk to you later. Goodbye.